I was trying to save the record. When I was trying to save the record, saved it with the name called TCS. Again, I am creating one more record. Save it. But what is my requirement? When you are trying to save the new record with a name called TCS, if there is a duplicate name, it should avoid the insertion. It has to throw an error message, duplicate data already exists. But here, when I'm entering the TCS twice, it has created two records. But what actually my requirement is, when you are entering the data, if the duplicate data already exists, it has to throw error message. If the duplicate data already exists, it has to throw error message. My standard functionality is not achieving this. My standard functionality is straight away saving the record, but according to my requirement, it is supposed to throw error message stating duplicate record already exists. Then how will you achieve it? There is a reason I am going for custom implementation. Now I have a requirement like this. When I click on the tab, I am getting this page. I don't want this thing to be displayed here. I don't want reports tools. I want a list of customers straight away. I don't want the page to be like this. I want the page to be according to my requirement. Now, the moment I click on the account, it has to open straight away this page. When I click on account tab, straight away it has to display this. When I click on the tab, I have to get this page straight away. That was my requirement. Now I don't want to give one more extra step called new reports and all that stuff. Straight away the record should come like this. From here I will create a new record. Then what was that? According to your requirement, you need the different user interface apart from what the Salesforce is giving. Now how will you achieve it? So to meet up your customer requirements, we are going for Visualforce pages. Wherever administration is not going to support your requirement, if your business requirement is not achieved, using standard navigations or using declarative development, then I am going to use programmatical interface. Again I repeat, if your declarative development is unable to support your requirement, then I will go for programmatical interface. Right. Now when you want to start the programmatical interface, then we need to understand the MVC model of this development. How this MVC of your Salesforce is going to be. What is that? MVC stands for Model View Control. When I go to this, Model View. In the model, I have objects, relations. Under the part of model, we have objects, relations, and fields. Under the part of view, I have page layouts, record types, set layouts, and Visualforce. Under the controller, we have Apex classes, triggers, web services, programmatically. You are reading a program and achieving it. Objects, fields, relation is a part of model. Page layout, record types, mini page layout, search layout. Visualforce is a part of view. Controller, Apex logic, triggers, web services, validations. Okay, or I can give here extensions. Extensions, all this belongs to your controller. Model, view, controller. Now, Visualforce falls under what? View part of. Now we are trying to design your own user interface. You are trying to design your own user interface. So your Salesforce implementation is on MVC, where we have model, view, controller, model part, objects, relations, fields, view part, page layouts, record types, mini page layout, search layout, controller, Apex classes, triggers, web services, extensions. Right. Now, what is this Visualforce? What is this Visualforce? Visualforce is a framework. What is a Visualforce? What is the purpose of the Visualforce? So, what is the Visualforce? Visualforce is a framework that allows developers to build sophisticated custom user interfaces. It is a framework that allows developers to build sophisticated user interface. Now, the point here is, I was using a word called framework. Now, what is this framework? How it is going to help you out? Let me give basic example. Let me give a basic example. Initially, I want to design websites. In the beginning, when I want to build a website, I used to use HTML and create websites. When there are no programming languages, initially we started with HTML. We used to use HTML and build your website. But the problem with the HTML is they are static. When I say static, what does it mean? When I say static, fixed. Like your notes, like your textbook, whatever that is displayed, you have to read it. Nothing else you can do. On the book, what we have, the printed data is there. You can read it. You cannot modify. You cannot interact. You cannot modify. You cannot interact. Dynamic. You're taking a website, Google search. You're opening voice over Google search. You speak, the Google respond. It's a dynamic. Let's take one example. Or you type, it gives a response. But when you build a website using HTML, it is static. When you build websites using HTML, it is static. Static means it doesn't respond, only print the data. Then, when the pages are static, people are not happy with this. Then what is the use of just creating a website and people reading your information? If it is going to interact with you, it will be very good. The people started looking for dynamic interaction. When the people started looking for dynamic interaction, understand the story, then you understand the definition of the framework. Okay. Then people started looking for a dynamic interaction. Then Java came into the market and told, I have a concept called applets. Initially, the websites are designed with only HTML. Then suddenly Java came and told, I have a concept called applets. Okay. When you use Java, it will be dynamic. You type, I'll give a response. Okay, graphics will come, name will start from left to right. So it told, I can build a graphics, I can build animation, I can build more dynamic. Then people started, excited with this Java, but they started using this Java. People are watching black and white TV, suddenly color TV came. People are excited to watch, they're going. But the problem is, they designed a website using Java, but they told, if you want to use this website, you have to install a Java on your system, then only website will run. How many customers will open this site? If you say install the Java, then only Java site will open. Otherwise, the site will not come, site will not be open. If you remember 7 to 10 years back, if you open any website, you used to get it on the top, install plugin, on the browser, you say install this plugin to run this software, or you use only Internet Explorer. Okay, i7. Do you remember that? Right. In case if you open it, okay, plugin. That time, if you want to run the sites on the Java, then it's mandatory that you have to install Java. Then in 1995, 1997, if you ask the people to, like, let's say, I hope it's still 2002 or 2003, also the same story happened. Plugins. So if you ask the people in 2002, if you ask somebody to install a Java, then only my website will run. Install JRE plugin, then obviously people never accept it. Now the designers rejected this concept. Why? People are very happily doing the web design with table, tr, td, okay, br, bi, very simple. Happily they are doing complex div span. There's a complex code. Apart from that, everything is straight away code. Suddenly Java came. It told class, object, okay, inheritance, exception, all these concepts are stored. Then people rejected this because the developers are not ready to accept it. The designers from HTML, all of a sudden to the object oriented, they are reluctant to open it. Then people rejected this. But what happened? The browser came to the market and told, I have a solution for this. People already seen the beauty of the graphics and animations, and then again coming back to the static pages, people are not happy. Then they want to use these graphics and dynamic, but they don't want to use Java. That's how JavaScript came. But still it is not able to do all the required justification. Then they told, boss, the Java people gave one more solution. Internet Explorer, the first Netscape, the browser, Netscape browser told, boss, the problem with you is installing the Java. If you use my browser, automatically Java will be there, site will open. That's they told, open these sites only with my browser, then the site will open. So again, why I should be specific to one browser only? The people are reluctant. Then they adapted JavaScript. JavaScript gave HTML plus some quick logics. That's how the people started using again what? JavaScript for building the websites. But the problem then again, the customer started telling, what is the use of this maintaining the sites dynamically when I don't maintain the database? Whatever the customer is requesting, if I save it, I can use for further request. I should allow the customer to say, okay, insert the data, pull the data, search for my data. So people started looking for websites with dynamic information. People started looking for websites with the dynamic information. Then they started with, boss, JavaScript, can you interact with the database and take the database? JavaScript told, I don't have any database capability. I don't have the capability to interact with the database. I don't have the capability to interact with the database. Then your Perl kit. It told, I was almost like your JavaScript. I was just like your JavaScript, almost similar way of writing it, but I have the capability of database interaction. I have the capabilities of database interaction. Then the people started building the websites with the Perl. Then they have dynamic website, backend database was there, everything is running good. But the number of customers in 1995, 1998, that time, if you compare with today's customer, we cannot, right? Am I right or no? Now, how many of you have done your homework, your second class homework from internet? Now, even now play school people are also doing homework from internet only. Of course, parents are doing, but work is from internet only, right? Now the number of customers are increasing day by day. Now when it increasing day by day, Perl told the server started crashing off. Why the server started crashing off? Because it is a procedure-oriented programming language. The Perl was running on procedure-oriented. Procedure-oriented means what? If this is a website, if this is a database, now every customer is one procedure. Every customer is one procedure. For every customer, there will be one connection. This is what you learn in your engineering colleges, right? Now, every customer request is one procedure. When I say one procedure, code, database connection, stack. Right. This is how Every request is one connection. If 1,000 people are interacting, how many connections are established? 1,000 connections. As it is a procedure oriented, every customer interaction is one connection. So the number of connections are increased. The server starting crashing off. Then they told, boss, we are unable to maintain the burden of this. Then they are looking for some solution which can reduce this burden. Then again, your Java came back. It failed. It failed already. It failed in the front end. Now it came back and told, boss, now this is not front end. It is a what? Database connections which are filling up. Now Java came back and told, I have a concept called threading, multi-threading. I have a concept of multi-threading. Boss, I am not procedure oriented. I am thread-based programming. What is this thread-based programming? What is the difference between these? Now in the procedure oriented, for everything I require one database connection. One stack, one code, one database connection. Now when you say thread, I told it is not a procedure oriented, it is a thread based. Thread based means what? All their requests. Every request will have only two areas, stack and code. All these requests together, they have one database connection. Can you open the door last? Is that AC is on? Parmesh? Bandina? Right. So, we have the connection. For all these, database connection. So, what is happening? Number of threads together is having only one connection. That's how the number of connections are reduced. Burden on the server started reducing. It is able to maintain the load. That's how, again, the object-oriented programming came into the market and told, I have a concept called multi-threading. With this, we can reduce the load of connections on the database and server. That's how, again, object-oriented programming came forward and occupied this. That's how, again, the Java came back to the market, or the .NET came back to the market. And they told, we are looking after this. That's how, again, front-end design was still done on HTML, JavaScript. Then the developers told, boss, back-end database connection is the work of your CSC guys. It is not the work of designers. Now you do whatever the thing you want at the back-end. Front-end don't touch. It's HTML, JavaScript. So the front-end still remains on HTML, JavaScript, and the back-end they had the object-oriented program running with the concept of multi-threading. That's how the concept introduced. Now when they are running with this, then what happened? Java was introduced. I am giving a word called Java because people know it. We can discuss with the C++ or okay, .NET oriented. Then what happened? Then the people are happy to start using because backend, the core CSC guys are using it. Frontend, the designers are using it. Then what happened? We had a model like this. This is a Java code. This is a applet or HTML user interaction. Then what happened? The request, whatever the customer is making a request, it is going to the controller. Controller is like when you come to the institute, you go to reception or there will be a watchman. You go him, he will ask you, what do you want? Salesforce, go to left side. You want big data, go to right side. You want to ask about DevOps, go to the next building. So who is that guy? He's the controller. He's the controller. He's asking, what do you want? You want Salesforce? Okay, you want to attend the Salesforce class? Go to next building, third floor. You want to inquiry about the DevOps? Go to next building, second floor. You want to attend big data? Same building, left hand side. You want to come for a Salesforce inquiry? Okay, first building, right hand side. Now what is this? This guy is controlling, understanding what you need, and he is writing it to the right location. So what he is called? A controller. So when you make a request, the request to go to controller. Controller understand your requirement. It is going to interact with your database. It is going to interact with your database. Then after interacting with the database, then whatever the output you want to give, that is given with now everything is done by the Java only. They told, boss, if everything you are handling it is taking more time for the response. because only you are handling it. Now you're taking more time for the response. Let us split this operation. Right now, all the three you are only doing the same code, whatever the Java code or whatever the C# code you're writing, same code it is doing in their operation. Understanding the requirement, connecting to the database, taking the data, displaying the view. Everything you are only doing, because of which the processing time is more. Let us split this operation into a better way. That's how the MVC architecture came. In the MVC architecture, what they have done? Now there is no controller view. MVC architecture came and told, boss, don't run everything with a single person. Now split it as a controller, split it as a view, split it as a database. Previously there is no controller model view. Everything was only one class. You make a request to class will handle it, the same class will connect to the database, same class will print the output, everything is done by one. But now you are split it into three: controller, view. So basically, to connect with the database, we have a structure called model. Controller. Now the guy started working on this. Then this is how it came. So this guy is requesting going to the controller to model. Model will interact with the database. Then based on the requirement, it may go to controller or it may go to right. Then this is how we are giving. Now how the UI is defined? Is defined with the HTML. Now for everything I don't want to write 50 lines of code, 100 lines of code. That's why what these people have done? They created some tags. What are the tags? Let's say like something like, okay, like these tags they have created. Now when you use this, the required code. Now when you have 10 lines of HTML code, HTML1, these are frequently used. Now the frequently used. So they told, boss, as you are using this 4 set of code frequently, instead of writing this 4 set, you simply use this tag. If you use this tag, automatically that 4 lines of HTML code will be applied. Instead of you writing the entire code, they told okay, the frequently used functionality they wrapped under one name and told you use this tag, automatically that code will be applied. So they simplified the code of HTML with the tags. Now instead of writing 100 lines of code, now we are writing only 5 tags. When you use the tag, automatically what is happening? The code will be replicated. Are you getting my point? That's what the tags introduced. But still the work is not simplified. Why the work is not simplified? There are 2 reasons. Now the reason is, first one, they started saying, boss, today is the first of the month. In the first of the month, if you go to ATM, maximum people trying to stop their cards. Now can you guarantee at this moment how many customers will be withdrawing the money? At this moment there may be 10 lakhs. Next moment there may be 0 customers. In next 1 minute there may be 0 customer. Next minute there may be 1 lakh customers. Right. Now next minute there may be 50 lakh customers. So what is that? It is fluctuating, increasing, decreasing, increasing, decreasing. Now the basic model told, boss, I cannot withstand this. The fluctuations I cannot withstand. My platform doesn't support this much of fluctuation. Then the people started looking for a platform which can support scaling up and scaling down. Now what was that? If there is only one counter, 10 people are waiting in the queue. What is that? 1 by 1, because there is only one counter. If 10 people are coming, open it as a 10 counter. If only 2 people are coming, split that as 2 counter. 1 person is there, only 1 counter. Then what will happen? Work will run faster. If 100 people are coming, open 100 counters. 50 are coming, reduce to 50. 10 are coming, reduce to 10. Only 1 is there, reduce to 1. Next 200, convert into 200. Now what is it? Based on your request, it is scaling up and scaling down. We require a platform which can scale up the scale down. That's how the people have introduced some concept called beans. Right? The beans, what it will do, if 10 requests are coming, same logic will be converted into 10 different sections. So 10 people will handle 10 differently. Now only 1 request is coming, 10 beans will be combined into 1 bean. So what is happening? I am able to handle multiple requests in the same speed. That's how the bean concept came into the market. Okay, still we have everything is applied on it. Right now, this so that's how the people started using the beans. So some people call it as EJP, some people call it as XYZ. Okay, but the problem here again, then the people analyzed. First, you take any application that is running in the market, there will be only two. Customer will enter the data, that will be saved to database, or customer will enter the data, we have to search and give back to customer. Any application you do, the same thing, right? You take a banking or insurance or whatever it is, you enter some data, save it to database, or you enter some data, click a button, go to database, get that and show it. At the end of the game, final output is this only. Am I right? 80% of the application will be same. What is it? You enter the data, it will save. You search the data, it will display. Remaining will be some integrations or SMS, there will be some part. But 80% of the applications what? Same. Then the people started thinking, when all the applications code structure is same, why are you building the application? Here, what happened? More than the logic, connections have become more. What? If user want to interact, one web page you have to create. When you click on a button, it has to go to Apex class. It has to go to some class. The class will connect to database. Database has to connect to class. Class has to connect to the HTML. HTML has to display. Now, what is happening? I want to make a sum of two numbers. When I want to make sum of two numbers, more than the logic, it is the connections which are taking more time. One HTML page, one backend class, HTML to backend class to database, database to again class to UI, UI to output. It is taking more time. So connections are taking more time, logic is taking less time. So people are unable to concentrate on the logic because they are spending more time on establishing the connection. Then they told, when the procedure is same, why everybody is establishing the connections again and again? Let us go back to a fixed format where system will take care about the connections. You only spend the time on establishing the logic. I will take care about the connection. You spend the time on only creating the logic. That's how people have made a framework. In the framework, connecting the UI to database to class, they will take care. You only simply spend the time on it. Okay, that's how the frameworks came. Name some of the frameworks you know. Right? Sprints. Okay. Name some of the ORMs you know. You have your okay. What we can say ORM. Java we have. Come again. Hibernate. Yeah. Hibernate is the ORM. Now if you come back to okay. Now if you go to ADF, Oracle ADF is there. Okay. .NET MVC framework is there. Okay. Now almost all the technologies today are working on frameworks. Now complexity is reduced frameworks. Now what is the core aim of this framework? Core aim of the framework is you should not spend time in establishing the connection between model, view, controller. The connection should be automatically established. You should spend time. You want to write a logic for a view, put on page. You want to write a logic for backend, put on class. You want to establish a connection, the system has to take care. I should not worry about establishing a connection to the database. I should not worry about establishing a view to controller. This complex logic I should not take care of. Everything should be done by the system. That's how the framework came. Framework came with a tags. So what happened? Instead of writing 100 lines of code, now we are writing only 10 lines of code. When I use the tag, automatically that 100 lines of code is copied. I hope you got. That's how the framework came into the mechanism. So in the framework, automatically backend database connections are established. Backend operations are established. Simply you need to apply the tags and achieve it. Right, boss? Are you clear about this? Now, studs, Spring, Hibernate, your MVC framework, on a Oracle ADF, all these are what? Frameworks. Lightning framework, Lightning is also one of the framework. All these are frameworks. This is how the frameworks are established. One such type of framework is Visualforce. That means what I want to convey, Visualforce, we write tags. Visualforce will have establishment connection, automatic connection to the database. You did not write generally if you write a programming language, I have to give, okay, what is that? Oracle JDBC, ODBC, Oracle. Okay, I did not write any database drivers. Automatically they are connected. I did not establish any connection to that database separately, giving the username, password, establishing a connection, looking the number of pools. Not necessary. Automatically Visualforce is connected to database. 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 You need not establish any connection. Who is taking care? Visualforce. So Visualforce is a framework which will help you to build sophisticated custom user interfaces and also server-side logics. Right. I hope the story of right. Now, even now, Visualforce is a replacement of HTML. Visualforce is a replacement of HTML. Anything, the purpose of giving this explanation is to tell you anything that you are displaying on a browser, anything that you are displaying on a browser should be HTML. Either you write straight away HTML or somebody write HTML and give a tags for you. When you are using a tag, internally the tags will be converted into HTML and they will run. Either you straight away write the HTML or you use the tag. What is the advantage of using the tags? If you use the tags, simplified program. Simplified program, connections are automatically established. So anything that is running on the browser should be in the HTML. Now, the purpose of explaining this is to tell you, because we are running the pages from the browser, anything that is supported by browser is also supported by Salesforce. Whatever the browser supports, everything is supported by Salesforce. Whatever browser supports, it will be supported by Salesforce. Whatever the browser supports, the same thing is supported by Salesforce. Okay, so come back to the story. What is a Visualforce? Visualforce is a framework that allows developers to build sophisticated custom user interfaces that was hosted on Lightning platform. Previously we used to call Force.com platform because the Salesforce is pushing Lightning. Now they gave Lightning platform. Okay. Now Visualforce is a framework that allows the users to build sophisticated custom user interfaces that can be hosted on Lightning platform. The Visualforce pages are hosted on Lightning platform. Now Visualforce framework includes tag-based markup language. I told, instead of straight away reading the HTML, we substituted the HTML with the tags. So Visualforce framework includes tag-based markup language. Visualforce framework includes tag-based markup language. It is almost similar to HTML. Okay, and also it performs some server-side operation. Why? No database connections are required. Automatically, framework will connect the page with the database. So you can also interact with the database. Insert the data, pull the data, delete the data. Because we are not manually establishing any connection, framework will take care about the connections. I hope you are clear. Now, once again, Visualforce is a framework that allows developers to build sophisticated custom user interfaces that can be hosted on Lightning platform. Visualforce framework is a tag-based markup language like your HTML. And Visualforce pages can also perform set of server-side operations like inserting the data, deleting the data, okay, updating the data. This type of operations you can do. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, Visualforce consists of two things basically. What are they? Visualforce markup, Visualforce control. Visualforce pages will consist of, the definition of the Visualforce consists of two elements. One is a Visualforce markup, other one is a Visualforce controller. Visualforce page. Visualforce markup and Visualforce control. Now, what is this Visualforce markup? Now, anything that is supported by browser is also supported by markup is a tag based program. Visualforce markup is a tag based program. Visualforce markup consists of Visualforce tags and scripting elements. Like JavaScript. So on. Visualforce tags means these are the tags defined by the Salesforce. Like we're going to have Apex. Like this, we have some tags. Visualforce tag and scripting elements. Anything that is supported by the browser is also supported by the Salesforce. Okay. Now, Visualforce markup is a tag-based language. Now, we are going for a tags and as well as scripting. Anything that is supported by browser is also supported by Visualforce. It can be a Visualforce tag, or it can be a Visualforce tag, or it can be a HTML or scripting element. It can be a Visualforce tags or HTML or scripting elements. I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now, let us go to the next one. Second one is Visualforce controllers. Or I can say server side control. Anything you can use. Visualforce controllers are server side controllers. Now, what are these Visualforce controllers? When any event occur on the page, what is the operation that should be performed on the server side is defined by Visualforce controller. When you click on a button, what should happen on the database? When you click on a link, what should happen on the server? So, when a user interacts with elements in the page, what is the action that should be performed on the server is defined by the Visualforce control. When user interacts with any one of the element in the page, what is the action that should be performed on the database in the server or the server side operation that is defined by Visualforce controllers. I hope you are good with this. Now let us see. When user interacts when user interacts with any of the element, what is the, can you open the door? You can open. when 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 user interacts, right? Who is that boss? Right. When user interacts with any one of the element on the Visualforce page, what is the operation that should be performed? That should be performed on the server side is defined by Visualforce control. When user interacts with any one of the element on the server side, when user interacts with any one of the element on the server, okay, any one of the element on the Visualforce page, what is the action that should be performed on the server side is defined by Visualforce controller. Again, I repeat, when user interacts with any one of the element on the Visualforce page, like clicking a button, clicking a link, changing the value, what is the operation that should be performed on the server side is defined by Visualforce controllers. Right. Now, what are the different types of controllers we have? We have 4 types of Visualforce. What are they? Standard controller. Then we had controller, extension, standard list controller. Now we have standard controller, controller, extension, standard controller. Now, what was the standard controller? Now, if the page want to use exact properties of any one of the table, now we have account table. Whatever the properties that are defined on the account table, the same properties if you want to use, then I go for standard controller. When you want to use exact properties of any one of the object available in the database, then we define that object as standard controller. When you want to use exact properties of any particular object, then we are going to define that object as standard controller. So let us see. In the VF page, if you want to use exact properties of any one of the defined in the database, then we use standard controller The next we have custom controller. No, you are not happy with properties that are defined on a particular object. You want to write your own logic. Then we go for custom controller. You want to use the exact logic defined on an object, we go with standard controller. No, I am not happy with the exact properties. I want to define my own logics. Then I will go with the custom controller. So what was the custom controller? If you want to define custom logic, if you want to define custom logic based on your business needs, then we use Apex class. We define Apex class and use it as custom controller. So whatever the FX classes we have done, class creation, that is falls under what? Custom controller. Whatever the objects we created in the database, they will fall under what? Standard controller. So referring to the object is a standard controller, referring to the class is a custom controller. Standard controller, custom controller. Then we had extensions. If you want to use a combination of standard controller with some custom logic, we go with extension. I want standard controller, I want custom controller. Then I go with extension. If you want to use both standard controller then go with extension. When you want to use standard controller and custom controller together, then we go with extensions. Right. The next one we have list controller. Standard. Once again, standard controller means referring to the properties of any one of the object. Now, if you want to refer to any one of the object, then we go for standard controller. Custom controller is class. Extension is combination of both. Now, look at this, everyone. I have all accounts, right? My accounts. We are getting this. List of records of particular object. Referring to list of records of a particular object without writing a class. That is possible with a standard list controller. Referring to the set of records from a particular object is possible with a standard list controller. I hope you are good with this. Am I clear? Am I clear with this? This object, this list of records are coming based on this. It is called a standard list controller.
Satish, you mean filter, right? Standard list controller is like.
No, it's a list of records. How are you getting the records is a secondary point. The records what we are getting, if you want to refer, it is a standard list controller. Okay. Referring to the list of records from any one of the standard controller is called standard list. Now we are going to see this. This is the complete course. Now we'll see how to use the standard controller, how to use a custom controller, extension, standard list controller. This is 80% of your development. Right? What it? So different points I have given, but these 4 points are 80% of your development. Now what was that? How to use a standard controller, how to create a custom controller, how to use an extension, how to go for a standard list controller. Then we have triggers. This plus triggers, asynchronous operation, there's a close of your development syllabus. Right? So I give quick overview. Referring to the object properties is a standard controller. Creating your own custom logic is a Apex class. Okay, it's a custom controller. Taking the combination is an extension. Okay, without writing any logic, you are referring to data from the particular object is a standard list controller. I hope you are good. So Visualforce page consists of markup or controllers. Markup is the tags or the script what you write to display. Controller is the logic what you want to perform on the server side is the controller. Okay, markup is the code what you write to display the output or UI. Now controller is what you are writing to perform the changes on server side. The action that should be performed on server side is controller. I hope you are good with this. Clear? Okay. Everybody is good with this? Right. Right, boss? Everyone has followed this. Okay. Now let us come back to the next point. Where will we use this Visualforce page? Tell me some of the context. Tell me some of the context where we can use the Visualforce. Now, I told you, where are the Visualforce pages can be used? To create custom tabs. You are creating a tab. When you click on the tab, our page will open. To override standard buttons and pages. To override standard buttons and pages. What was this? To override standard buttons and pages. Now I told you, when I click on the save button, when I click on new opportunity, this should not take me to this page. It has to take me to my own page. When I click on the save, it has to verify are there any duplicate records. If there are no duplicate records, then only record should be saved. What was that? I am replacing standard save button with my custom logic. I am replacing standard tab with my custom logic. If you want to replace standard tab or standard buttons or standard pages, we go with what? Visualforce. Visualforce pages are used. Visualforce pages are used to override standard buttons and pages. Now, to create custom buttons and links on standard pages. What I want is, look at the point. Here, I want to create one more button called send email. This is a standard page developed by Salesforce. On the standard page, I want to create my own custom button. I want to create my own button and display it on the page. Here, I want to add a button called send email. When I click on this, email should be sent to the owner of the record. Or I want to keep a button called send code. When I click on this, quotation should be sent to the owner. Now, when you want to add some custom buttons on the standard pages, what we use? Visualforce pages. Now, you are finding the sidebar components. I don't want this. I want to create my own block here. So, if you want to create any custom sidebar components, we go with you want to create a custom sidebar component, we'll go with the Visualforce pages. To create a custom tabs, to override standard buttons and pages, to create a custom buttons and links on standard pages, to create a custom sidebar components, like this. Many more examples you can take. I hope you are good with this. Now, some of the examples what I have taken: to create a custom tab, to override the standard buttons, standard pages, and to create a custom buttons on standard links, to create a custom buttons and links on standard pages, to create custom sidebar components. Few examples where we can use Visualforce. I hope you are good with this. Am I clear? Am I clear with this? Now the question is, how can you create the Visualforce page? In how many ways we can create a Visualforce page? Let us look at this. Right. First way, standard navigation. How can we create a Visualforce page? Standard navigation. Look at the standard navigation, everyone. So I have set up, I changed it to my old version, 36.0 version, I changed up. Okay. Now, you'll be finding the setup on the top for you. Okay. Setup. So My layout is changed, right? Okay, no issue. Setup. You will be finding build, develop. You'll be finding lightning components. What was that? Visualforce page. Setup, build, setup, setup, build, develop, lightning components, Visualforce page. New Visualforce page. Enter the page name. Create the body. Save it. Create the body. Save it. What is the navigation here? Setup. Build. Develop. Lightning components. Visualforce page. Then we
Satish,
have
I don't think it is under lightning components. It is just another.
what is the navigation that you are finding? My settings are changed actually. Okay. You're finding under develop, lightning bolt, right? Build, develop, lightning components, Visualforce. Build, develop, lightning components, Visualforce. Then we had new. Enter. My account, I had a old settings there. Enter name. This is what? Standard navigation. How to create a Visualforce page using standard navigation. Second one, we want to build a page using developer console. The frequent way of creating this. What is the second style we had? Developer console. Developer console. If I say developer console, developer console. In the developer console, how do you create? We had setup. Look at the point. Username, developer console. You click on the developer console, file, new, Visualforce page, page name, then write the code, save it, Control S. If you are finding a star mark, the page is not saved or there is an error in the page. You are finding it is a star mark, there is an error or the changes are not saved. Okay. So how do you create? Username, username, developer console, username, developer console, then we had file, new, Visualforce, then same story is the second way of creating the page. One is the standard navigation, second one is the developer console. Third way of creating using URL. We can also create the Visualforce page in one more format, that is the third. Out of these three, developer console is the format which we regularly use. Right. Now what is this URL? Now look at the point. If you want to open any one of the existing Visualforce page, HTTPS, now your server, if it is 8, ap8.salesforce.com, your server NA7, okay, whatever the server instance you have, HTTPS, your server instance dot salesforce.com/apex/page. This is how you are supposed to open any one of the Visualforce page. The page which is already existing, if you want to open the page, ap8.salesforce.com/apex/page name. This is the URL which we are going to use. Now I want to create the Visualforce page using the URL format. Then what should I do? Enable development mode. First you have to enable development mode. How do you enable the development mode? Go to the user, go to the user, go to the user, edit. For whichever the user you want to enable the development mode, go to the user, click on the edit. You find here development mode, enable it, save it. Whichever the user for whom you want to enable, whichever the user for whom you want to enable, whichever the user for whom you want to enable, whichever the user for whom you want to enable, whichever the user for whom you want to enable. Okay. Now whichever the user for whom you want to enable, whichever the user for whom you want to enable, for that user, you will be finding advanced user interface to the point. Great. Okay. Now whichever the user for whom you want to enable, what I will do? Setup. Previously it was in the older version. I just modified it. Setup, administer, user, manage users, user. Whichever the user for whom you want to enable, go to that user, go and enable development mode on. Development mode on. First you have to do this. So what was the navigation that we had? Setup, administer, manage users, setup, administer, manage users, user, edit, enable, development mode, setup, administer, manage users, user, edit, enable, development mode.
Sorry to interrupt you, Satish.
Yeah.
Why you have to enable this development mode?
Only when you enable this, the platform will be coming under the page. Because you want to design the page using a URL. If you want to go with this format, it is a must. Right. Now, once you enable it, then what we are going to do? Look at the point. Then in the URL, go back here. Go back here. Salesforce.com/apex/page. When I told page 2 is already existing. Now, when I say URL, at the bottom, the development mode is on. This mode is on. Because I am working with the URL, I am not opening a developer console. If I have to modify the program, from where I am going to modify? From this developer mode. That's the reason. This is a development mode. So when you give the URL, the page will open. From the bottom only, we are going to apply the changes. I hope you are good with this. Right? If you don't enable this, from where will you modify the code? You are not opening a developer console. You are trying to create a page.
Can you change the name?
1 minute.
Sorry.
Right. When you are giving this, when you open the page, I am trying to build the page. This is not opening a page. What was our intention? How many ways we can create a new page? Now, if you want to create a new page, where will you write the code? Where will you write the code? The code will be written under this. If you want to get this structure, this is called development mode. If you want the development mode to be on the page, we need to enable it. Okay. Now, this is already existing. We are getting it. If the page is not existing, you get an error message and says create a page 3. Then when I click on this, new page will be created. Whatever the URL I have given, with that URL, if the page is existing, it will open. If the page is not existing, it will give a error message. When you click on the link, new page will be opened. I hope you are good. Right? If the page is not existing, it give a error message. When you click on this, new page will be created. You can write your code. I hope you are good with this. To get this box, we are enabling the development mode.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Now, let me finish off this. Now, give the URL. So, server instance /apex/. If the page exists, then the page will be open. If the page doesn't exist, then it throws error message with link to create. I hope you are good with this. So, how many ways we are able to create? One is standard navigation. Second is the developer console. Third one is URL. Out of these three, what is the standard format we have? Our standard format is developer console. There is one more way. What is that? Eclipse. Using Eclipse also we can create. That will be seeing at the end of the deployments. While I'm explaining the deployments, I'll be showing how to create using a Eclipse. We can create using Eclipse also. I hope you are good with this. Right. But what is the format in which we are going to use? Right. We are going to use Visualforce Developer Console. How do you open? File, New, Visualforce page. enter the page name. Now, if you are finding a star mark here, the page is not saved. Use Ctrl S and save it. Ctrl S and save it. Right. If there is any error, or the page is not saved, you get the star mark here. And before the page is completely saved, don't stop it. If you stop it, you get a metadata component missing error. You will find it very difficult to remove that. So wait for the file to be saved successfully. I hope you are good with this. These are the ways in which we can create the Visualforce pages. When you are creating the Visualforce pages, what is the extension of the file? Visualforce page will have an extension of .vfp. Visualforce page. Visualforce page will have an extension of .vfp. Visualforce page. The version of the API we are using is 45.0. Version of API. Version of API we are using is 45.0. Visualforce page should obey strict XML format. Visualforce page should obey strict XML format. Visualforce page should obey strict XML format. What do you mean by strict XML format? If I have name, closing should be with. If I give age, closing should be with age. It should be a strict XML format. Every opening element should have corresponding closing element. I'll give. Should have corresponding look at this. If I have a name, this is the opening of the name, this is the closing of the name. Opening of the name, closing of the name. Now if I have any body, I'll write name Satish, then close. If I don't have any body, I can open and close in the same line. If you have a body, in between we write element, body, close the element. Slash is closing. This is opening. This is closing. This is opening. This is closing. Right. If you have a body, name Satish Mela, name close. Every opening element should have corresponding closing. Inner element should be closed. Inner element should be closed first, followed by outer element. Inner elements. Inner element should be closed first, followed by outer elements. So if I want to close name, first inner element should be closed. Inner element should be closed first, followed by outer elements. Are you clear about this? Inner element should be closed first, followed by outer elements. So inner element should be closed first, followed by outer elements. Every opening element should have corresponding closing element. Inner element should be closed first, followed by outer element. So I have to close the last name first, then I have to close the name, then only I can close employee. opening element, closing element should be case sensitive. Now opening element and closing element should be case sensitive. Now if I open, look at the point, you write apex page, closing also should be there in apex. Now how you write apex page is doesn't matter, but if you write small p, I have to write it small p. You write capital P, you write page as you like, there is no issue. But whatever the name you give for opening, same should be given for closing. We don't have an issue with whether you write P as a capital or small. But if you are opening with a capital, closing also should be done with a capital. Now look at this. So element is not case sensitive. Opening element is case sensitive with the closing element. Look at the point. Apex page we have taken. Now I am making this apex page. You write the element a capital or small, it will not throw error. But if you open with a capital, closing should also be done with a capital. Small, small. Here Visualforce tags are not case sensitive. Opening element is case sensitive, closing element. Are you getting my point? Page you can write capital, capital, no problem. You got it. But if I write it, it is throwing, because we opened with the capital page, closing also should be done with the capital page. I hope you got my point. So it is not the Visualforce which is case sensitive. Opening tag is case sensitive with the closing tag. It is not the Visualforce page which is case sensitive. It is the opening tag which is case sensitive with the closing tag. I hope you are good with this. Am I clear? Am I clear? Okay. Now, right. One more point I'll finish. Here we have apex colon page, right? In this, apex is what is the tag? Page. What is that apex? Namespace. Now let us say, now look at the point. I have CSC. What is the definition of the CSC? Now, according to engineering, it is computer science engineering. But same CSC if I keep, the same CSC if I keep some other, like say finance term, the definition is going to be different, right? Now, according to the finance, the abbreviation of CSC may be different. According to the engineering, the definition of CSC is different. Now, when I am writing a CSC, it is telling where should I find the meaning of this? It is not a global term. It is not a global term. When you say page, different, okay, in different contexts, it will have different meanings. Now, I am asking, this meaning should be taken with respect to what? Where is the definition of this? Where is the definition of this is given? When you are using an element called page, what is the meaning of this page? What is the meaning of the word called page? Where is the definition of this page given? That is given here. What is this? Namespace. What was that called? Namespace. You find the meaning of this by going there. The definition of this page is mentioned in the namespace called apex. Now we are giving a page. Now we are telling to the compiler, you want to know the meaning of this? Go to the apex namespace. There I have defined what is a page. According to that, you run it. Are you getting my point? Am I clear with this? Right? The meaning of the page, the meaning of the page, the meaning of the page defined in the namespace called apex. Right? The meaning of the page. Okay. Similarly, I give something like this. C colon page. Please mute your mics. C colon page. Now, page. The meaning of the page here is different from apex page. Now, what is the meaning of this? Let us say I gave capital. Now, I have created my own namespace called capital. There I told page is, this is the page, the meaning of the page is given. So if when I say capital page, now go to the capital, find out the meaning of this. When I say apex page, go to the apex, find out the meaning of the page. Are you getting? The definition of this is different. Where should I find the difference? I hope you are good. Clear for everyone? Right. Listen to the class, Amma. Right. You can go out and play your games. Right. I hope you are good with this. Right. Any other query? Now go ahead. Somebody from online. What is your query, Amma?
Sorry, Satish, I was wondering if you write apex with capital A, P, A, X, and closing with small letters, is it going to work or not?
If I give capital page, small page, opening element is capital small page, closing also should be in small page. If I open element with a small, closing also should be with a small. If I open with a capital, should be with a capital. Now,
The element.
whether you write opening as capital page or small page, it doesn't make a difference for me. But if you open with a capital page, closing also should be with a capital page. Right, Amma? Got it?
Thank you.
That's all from my end. And
Just one question, Satish.
1 minute. Yeah, go ahead. Online, go ahead. What is your query, Amma?
Hi Satish, you said this is the 45th version of API.
Yeah.
So what is the